So, this whole idea of being motivated by avoiding negative consequences, or what I've called moving away from motivations, I think we realize the power of it. Sometimes we want to be more positive, to be altruistically or intrinsically motivated by what we want to accomplish. I want this, I want that, I want this. But it's very, very powerful if we can once in a while tap into the things we don't want. Now, I don't think that we want to get bogged down in just avoiding things. That's certainly not a way to live. But the fact is, survival for the longest time has wired our brains to work to avoid those negative consequences. And to a certain point, we'll work extremely hard. In fact, that's the key, isn't it? We will work harder to avoid a negative consequence than to achieve something positive. And it's okay. That's totally natural. And in fact, if you're not tapping into it, I think you're missing on a great, incredible motivation in whatever it is. Whether it's your physical health, your financial life, your work, relationships. In some ways, you learn to direct yourself, set boundaries, and what you will allow is dictated by what you will not allow. So, for example, I did a treatise on this on a previous message, a series of previous messages called ALP, or what I call the acceptable level of performance. It's the floor of performance that you will allow in your work or in your life. For example, I'll give you an example of myself. I don't weigh myself every day. I don't look at the scale. I don't necessarily count calories. But I know, based on my physical presence, how I feel physically on a daily basis, what I need to do to feel better. Most of the time, it's go for a run, go for a swim, go for a bike ride, go for a walk, something. And that is because I hit against that ceiling, that acceptable level of performance. If I feel my physical health going a little awry, a little sideways, it kicks in this motivation, which is what I call my acceptable level of performance. I will not allow myself to get to a certain level of inactivity or a certain level of physical malaise because it's just built into me. It's something I've conditioned myself to have. Same thing with work. You may say, I won't put up with the performance being lower than what I'm capable of. And that motivates you extremely hard. In fact, I hate to say it, but in some cases, and I hearken back to previous work that I've done where I would collaborate or be mentoring someone, and I'd say, hey, how's it going? And they would reply with, well, I haven't been fired yet. As sad as that was to hear that from someone, it was a pretty good indication of where their mindset was and what they were working hard for. Now, I'm not saying that that's something you should use on a regular basis, but if you are looking to avoid a really negative outcome, and by the way, when I say what a really negative outcome is, you get to decide what that is. What if your really negative outcome is simply reaching your goal? And what you really believe you're capable of is much greater. But you set that minimum, that low acceptable level of performance as your goal. What happens then? Then you will find you will naturally exceed expectations without even trying. It's just the way that you set it up. That reaching your goal only is painful. It's ridiculous. It's something you just can't stand for. And isn't it funny how that sounds strange to the normal ear? And yet, if you've done it, you understand how powerful this is. So the question is, what's your acceptable level of performance? And have you set that up in your own mind? And then if you attached some serious consequences to that. I know I continually try to level up by raising the floor, raising the acceptable level of performance that I'll put up with. Now, I realize there are a lot of things out of our control, but this is completely within our control. So, find what you want to accomplish and make that the minimum. Don't make it this pie in the sky, massive undertaking. Make it the least you can do. And don't settle for anything less. In fact, make it painful to have anything less or to achieve anything less. Then you'll find yourself playing in a little different minefield. Your mentality will change automatically. And you will tap into this great power, which is the moving away from motivation, the acceptable level of performance, and the moving away from drivers that are completely natural to our human brains. Thanks for joining me for another cup. Taking risks and putting yourself out there in negative motivation.